Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video we'll be discussing a couple new updates that have happened. One of them will be a pretty massive nerf to a lot of the dungeons, affixes, and overall the changes when it comes to Mythic Pluses to make them easier. Particularly the sore spots in certain dungeons that Blizzard is changing, because we are losing out on the Prideful buff and the Prideful mob that will be spawning in Season 1. In Season 2 we'll get a different affix, which I prefer personally, but it should be agreed by many that Prideful affix did make some of these dungeons and some of these sore spots much easier to deal with because of the incredible buff that the Prideful provided, as long as you didn't wipe and then had to do the boss without the Prideful, which definitely slowed down the progress. In this video I also want to talk a bit about the legendary change and try to address it as quickly as I can to make this video as short as possible, but give you guys my thoughts and some of the recommendations when it comes to recrafting legendaries in patch 9.1, why you might have to do it, and what are some of the tips I have for you to make it easier. First, let's get into the Mythic Plus changes. A lot of them are nerfs, so a lot of you guys are going to enjoy it. However, these nerfs do seem very sensible, and especially great if you're a tank player or looking to play tank in 9.1. First of all Mythic and Mythic Plus enemies will have their auto attack damage reduced by 10%. This might not even mean much because you're probably thinking of certain abilities that have sniped you out in a key, or certain abilities that make it harder to heal or harder to tank, but majority of the damage the tanks tank is auto attack damage. So this is a pretty sizable nerf to all the mobs, especially for tanks to be more survivable. We also got some Mythic Plus affixes nerfed. Overall, these nerfs do suggest that Mythic Pluses should be a little bit easier for tanks, and particularly with melee, noting this storming nerf. The other side nerfs really try to hit on the sore spots of the dungeon, mostly being Hakar and his annoying shield mechanic. He'll cast a lot less shield, so that boss should be a little bit easier to deal with, as well as Zyxa, which is generally done as the third boss of the dungeon but could be done in any order, but the damage nerfs to that boss will be particularly good in tyrannical keys. Besides some weird health increases in Turnasai, for the most part they are tackling the first boss and trying to nerf him a little bit so that the fight doesn't become too long, particularly in tyrannical. Necrotic Wake was another dungeon where you had some bosses that were just maybe a little too long, especially in Tyrannical, so the nerf to those is going to be good as well. The first two bosses of Sanguine Depths got pretty gutted, and the ads between the first and the second boss also got slapped around with a couple nerfs, which are all really good, and I can't wait to try Sanguine Depths again in 9.1. Then we also have an extra sensible change with Ventonax, the second boss of Spirits of Ascension. Those little whirly shooty things that he leaves on the ground, those will reset every time he does his recharge mechanic, which will make it far less hectic the longer the fight goes on. I felt like the Dungeon for Theater of Pain bosses still have a little bit too much health, but at least Blizzard did decide to nerf one of the more annoying mechanics in one of the bosses. I guess it's better to know that they at least touched something in a dungeon. Finally, we have a really good change for the end of a Mythic Plus dungeon. Whether you time it or whether you don't, you will be able to trade out your key at the end of the run to an NPC called Ta Sup, and you'll be able to swap out your key that's on level that the key you just completed or lower. So let's say I'm doing keys with Guildies, we end up running the key that we all want to run, and let's say I got Sanguine Depths. Maybe it's not a dungeon I really want to run that week, so I can at least trade out that keystone for another one with the NPC, and we might be able to get a key that we actually want to do or we need for Red IO score or the new Mythic Plus score that Blizzard is going to be adding in 9.1. So this is a good change overall. I'm actually very excited for patch 9.1 and the Mythic Plus stuff that's going on. I've been super excited to check out some of the changes to the affixes. I think the changes they've done for the lieutenants and the seasonal stuff looks really good. And honestly, I can't wait for new content. I like Prideful Mob, but I'm kind of sick of them at this point, doing them for however long, many months it's been that we've been in this patch. So I can't wait to move on to some of the new stuff. Next, let's talk about the next topic. You might have been told already that in 9.1 you'll have to recraft your rank 4 legendaries, but I don't think you'll need to do it immediately once patch 9.1 comes out. Let's first talk about why players feel that they might need to recraft the legendaries at rank 4, which I think is maybe a little bit too rushed. The new gear in the next raid will have gear called Domination Gear. Inside of this gear goes Domination Sockets, stuff you'll earn within raid fights, and sockets and gems that you'll acquire from raids as well. The Domination Sockets are pretty cool because if you have 3 of the same type, like 3 reds, 3 blues, 3 purples, you get a socket bonus, which only works in raids, in Torghast, and the Maw, so it's like a raid mostly item. But the gems themselves, the Domination gems, do work in Mythic Pluses, they work in PvP, although at 50% reduced value, so probably would be useless for PvP, but you might want to pick them up maybe for Mythic Pluses as well. Depending on your gear type, like cloth, leather, mail, or plate, you can get Domination gear on helms, shoulders, chest, pants, gloves, boots, and belt, I believe. I'm not sure about the belt one though. So if you have legendary on any of those items, in the next patch you will have to recraft them. But it's not all bad. There are adjustments that Blizzard is adding for patch 9.1 to make the recrafting quote-unquote process easier. First of all, you learn a lot more soul ash in 9.1. During a Torghast, the first time you do a corridor, you'll get a bulk of soul ash, but it also can be repeated. So every single time you do a Torghast run, you will get, in patch 9.1, soul ash every single run. I'm pretty sure someone will figure out the best hallway for Torghast, that is the fastest, that is the most time efficient, that gives you the most amount of soul ash every single run. So if a player wants to spam it to craft the legendaries, they could. But also you will be able to trade legendaries between alt characters. Like your main can buy this box full of soul ash, you'll pay 300, you'll be able to transfer 250 over to your alts, or vice versa. But the question is, do you really need a rank 4 legendary recrafted in your character day 1 of new patch? I don't think so. I think you might actually at that point wait until rank 5 and rank 6 legendaries are unlocked, because you don't need the new legendaries until you get some domination gear. This domination gear is not going to be available day 1 of Shadowlands patch 9.1. In fact, it's going to be available a week after, when the seasonal stuff will begin, but also when the normal and the heroic versions of raid will also start. By then, you would have run your Torghast a couple of times to get soul cinders as well as soul ash, and by the time that the gear is accessible, you can recraft your either rank 4 legendaries, or if you want to save a quick buck, just craft them at rank 5 or rank 6 once it's available. It's very similar to how we started out at the beginning of Shadowlands. Some players crafted the legendary at rank 1 and then upgraded one by one from rank 1 to rank 2, then rank 3. Then rank 4, and the currency that it took, the gold, to buy the items actually stacked up quite a bit. So a cheap alternative for most players was to just craft it at rank 1, wait until you have enough soul ash to craft a rank 4 version of it, and then upgrade it in one single stop. So you could actually do the same thing, wait until you have enough of the currency, and by the time you have enough of the currency, you should be able to have some domination gear to replace your legendaries. By then you'll have enough soul ash and soul cinders to craft even rank 5, or you could wait all the way until rank 6 legendary is available. At least that would be my advice, especially if you're someone who is a little more gold oriented and you don't really have a lot of expendable gold on your main character. But there's also an advantage to this as well, because if you're someone who follows guides for recommendations on legendaries, like if you don't really do your own character simming or theory crafting, or there isn't a legendary build that you just want to try just because you find it fun, and you'd rather follow like a guide that gives you recommendations on your best potential class Lego, that'll be good for keys, raiding, maybe PvP, then it's also a good idea to wait until they go through any kind of tunings or any relevant simulations are done for our characters, and by the time you have the currency and the resources, you should be able to craft the legendary that'll be your most recommended legendary for various WoW guides. So that those players feeling rushed to recraft the legendary at rank 4, I think it's a little early. It's a little much. I feel like it's better to wait. So if you're someone who is worried about the legendary system for patch 9.1, I think the issues have been maybe a little bit overblown with all the extra soul ash you'll be able to get, but also with all the extra soul cinders and the upgrades to rank 5 and rank 6 Legos. It honestly might be a good idea to wait, not panic, wait until the raid is out, find out what your recommended legendary is, or maybe you have one in mind that you want to try for a build. I definitely have a lot that I'm going to be crafting on my main as well as alts. If there is something you want to craft by then you should do it. But that's going to be my 2 cents on that whole legendary debacle. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts about what you think about the legendary change to the legendary system. Let me know your thoughts about the changes to the mythic pluses as well. You guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below. Follow my Discord, also in the description, and I'll see all of you guys in another one.